the Amazon European Masters, and look at this beautiful game coming in from out of a sudden Heretics destroying unicorns, and now they're one game away, guys.
It was a short one, most certainly. I expected this one to go to Heretics, but I did not expect it to go to them in this kind of fashion where they just, all of them stepped up massively. I thought we were about to see, okay, Jackspektra back in a position where he's going to be the 1v9 machine. The rest of them might struggle a little bit. I was very surprised to see that Silas even made it through, but some misplays from Ruby and the rest of the top side of the map getting ahead from Heretics resulted in everyone pretty much just coming into fruition and setting up objective, getting everything on the map and just running away with it.
We'll talk about those mistakes in a few moments. Let's talk about the Champion Select to understand what should have happened and what actually happened, Noah.
In Champ Select, we got what I expected from the side, at least from Unicorns Love 6th edition. The last part is important because we went back to the Draven is banned away, Kalista is banned away, Lucian is banned away from Jackspektra, target focusing the AD carry. And I was a bit disappointed during the draft phase with Heretics because I felt with the first pick affiliates that they were going back to the one-dimensional, we're gonna funnel through the bot lane style that they were showing up today. But honestly, props to Zwyroo, that was the first one showing up today.
I think one of the big things as well is that when you are facing an opponent who will ban away all the early game aggressive AD carries, you can allow yourself to go on the scaling, which you usually wouldn't. A second thing for me that was quite big was the fact that, all right, you saw the Sejuani, finally this time you picked up the Trundle into it immediately, and that also allowed it so you can really pick your own later as well if you wanted an even stronger front line as well from the side of Unicorns of Love. And I think that really freed up the rest of the map too. bluerzor actually had impact in this game, whereas the earlier game he did not. So I think it really helped the entirety of them that they got away with a draft where they actually had picks that mattered into what the opponent had drafted.
So finally we can talk about what happened in the mid lane. Ruby, something happened. He fancied some kills versus the Swine. He overextended. You were talking to me about that. So can you explain to me?
I felt like Ruby was a bit overconfident because he was so close to the tower when you are facing a Swain. He literally grabbed him down to tower, and we're gonna just watch this misplay because, in my opinion, this was the key factor that made Heretics to snowball everything. That flash away, the claw was wonderful. Ruby tanks bait of the tower and then stopped dying. And this is the worst part of it. Both mid laners TP back, and this time it was Heretics as a whole, just roaming to the mid lane, rotating to the mid lane, taking down Ruby once again. And at this point, it was pretty done.
And analyzing the play like frame for frame, like if you take a look at the map state, it's not necessarily a bad play coming through from Ruby. Like you have the big wave, you're the one with the slow push, which means that even if Zwyroo decides to trade with you, your minions will do more damage to him while he's doing it. The problem is, as soon as the chain connects, out of animation, the Swainy actually goes off, and I think Ruby's just not ready for that. If he flashes that earlier, all right, fine, the play goes a little bit better. But since he didn't, and since the bot lane had the priority, which allowed for the support to move up as well, Ruby was just doomed from one early game play that did not go his way.
So when this lane is kind of lost in that specific play, what actually happens on the rest of the map, Noah?
In the rest of the map, we saw Heretics bot lane once again getting the priority, level 1, getting level 2 before Unicorns Love 6th edition bot lane, which what Gulbo say is that allowed whiteinn, for example, to roam to the main lane before. And also, I saw Scarface kind of showing up in the first levels. He was even proxy farming Ivo, but that wasn't enough in the end. Your mid lane, the mid lane in Unicorns Love 6th edition side was totally drowned, and that disrupted the mid-jungle synergy we were highlighting in the second game. Lurox and Ruby were not allowed to play together in the same way than in the game before.
Yeah, and just talking adaptations as well, like coming into this game, not only from a drafting point of view, but I actually think like the players from Heretics had good adaptations from the jungle and mid duo, because that was something that just the game previously, that was the one where Unicorns of Love was running away with it. But in this game, it was vice versa, where it was actually bluerzor finally showing up on the Trundle together with Zwyroo as well, and actually finding pick. And just having a Trundle pillar to play around with, having the never move as well to fight with in extended team fights, it's so damn annoying. So even the fact that you have Seri that used to be so mobile, when you're playing up against the Leona Trundle with the pillar, Swain as well, like you just can't play the game. So as soon as you fall behind that curve and you have to face into a team composition that not only scales well, but also is ahead of what you currently have to deal with, there's just no coming back from it.
So at this point, what can we expect? How can Unicorns actually adapt to this one?
I I really think Unicorns have the side selection at this point, and it's going to be back to them. I'm really expecting a fifth game, honestly, because we started this sort of ping pong where Heretics won the first game, but Unicorns of Love is well prepared from the blue side, so they pick the second victory. Then Heretics go back to the blue side, pick the victory, and now is Unicorns of Love turn to go to the blue side. And it's going to have the advantage. So I'm expecting a 2-2, honestly, but I don't know. I don't want to speak. I don't want to
You're hurting. I can see it.
It's so close yet so far, and we know how these things work.
If I would have prediction for this time around, I think you're right. I think Unicorns of Love will 100% play blue side. But I think you have to change your bans as well coming out from the side of Heretics. And you might actually have to ban the Lucian yourself. So you might have to go with, you can still go with the Azir, you can go with the Vi, but then I think you get rid of the Sivir and you throw in the Lucian instead. Because at least then if Sivir's open, you can match scaling with scaling. And Jackspektra is happy about that. But if you get them the neutralization of having that Lucian lane like we saw in the game too, I think that might go a little bit off the rails and make matters more easy. Because that bot lane is the strong side for Heretics. And those solo lanes from the side of Unicorns of Love is their strong side. So if they're put in a position where they don't have to worry about the strong side of the opponent, well, they will be very happy.
And there's more than draft, because in this game, they won pretty much every single team fight. I want to look into that one. And Noah, guide me through this. You were living this.
Yeah, I was totally living this. I was not believing that we got to this point, honestly, in the European Masters. But in this moment, just Heretics got a lot of advantage. They went to the Baron Nashor, they took everything, even Jackspektra got a pentakill. They were playing whatever they wanted. And that's because when they got advantage in the mid lane, they got advantage in the bot lane, they could just go full ham, full engage. I was not a big fan of the Leona peak, but honestly, that is comfort zone for whiteinn. He knows how to play this. He knows how to go full forward and win front to back.
And it's just easy once again. Like, they have all the tools they need for a good teamfight composition. It's what we really wanted, right? Because even in the game they won, where they had the Mordekaiser, like, teamfights would have been hard. Luckily, they won the game, right? But in an ideal situation where you're the one who actually gets the affiliates and you have a team composition around you, you actually get to play it. Like we saw in game 2, where you didn't have that. And, you know, Jackspektra was just left to his own devices with nothing to really use his lead on. But you see it this time around. The gold lead, it's steep, it's up there, and it's not falling behind.
There's nothing on that wave that allowed Unicorns to show up, and this is why I'm going to do it. I've never done this before in this specific studio, so that's why I'm going to take this opportunity. Heretics are one game away of making Superliga really proud. This is the moment Spain has been looking forward the most. On European Masters ground, they can actually do it. And there's a specific sentence that starts this all the time. It all starts with success. It all starts with...
No monologues today. No monologues today. Let's toss it to the casters. A llamada y al munchables. Vámonos a caster. De verdad, esto no. No. No.
I love the way that she says "munchables." I feel like I don't know. I feel exotic now. I will say, Archie, you okay, buddy?
That was a pretty hefty shot.
That was aggro, but look, it has started with success for Heretics.
Oh, now she's gonna come in here.
I'm on my toes. We can see me one. Yeah, game number 4. We'll see how this one's going to go down. 2-1 to Heretics, and what a game 3, right? Absolute domination from start to finish from Heretics. A 20-minute win at the end of the day. Like, that was terrifying. And now Unicorns, they're going to have to give us something different for game 4.
They have to. Otherwise, we're just going to see a repeat of game 3, and I think they're just going to get run over completely. Questions still remain, right? Picks like Lucian, are they going to still remain banned? Do you want to change things up with the jungle pick, for example? You noted, and I think very aptly so, that the junglers have actually had a lot of influence in this series. A little bit more sway than perhaps junglers often do in competitive play. Specifically in the early game, a lot of the time it feels like junglers show up to lanes that are already kind of going a little bit poorly or going really well, and then they kind of bounce off that. It feels like, realistically, if bluerzor gets a massive lead, the Heretics win. And if Lurox has been allowed the freedom to kind of move to lanes where he has a lot of setup, the Unicorns just kind of take over the game. I think the only big criticism I have right now of Unicorns doesn't actually, however, have much to do with the drafts per se, but also I think it's more to do with maybe directly Lurox, but also Unicorns not as a unit playing towards their conditions consistently. I feel like game 1, game 3, they had the opportunities to, you know, camp that the Aatrox of the Renekton and the Sejuani in game number 1, maybe actually find something tangible with that bottom lane lead, which they never really ended up doing.
Okay, so the Unicorns essentially need to play towards their win condition as opposed to trying to stop them. Heretics win.
Yeah, it feels like that. It feels like they are trying to shut down Heretics a little bit too much, as opposed to just playing
their game.
Yeah, playing their game.
Just vibe with it. Just vibe.
Just vibe, yeah.
All right, we'll see how the vibes are. We'll vibe check them here in the Champs. Oh, God, I've never sounded older. How do you do, fella kids? Time for a vibe check. Trundle first.
Okay.
Now
Bit
that
of
is a
adaptation
vibe.
there. That is a vibe. It probably also feels worse for you because I am almost by
You're
far
like
and away-
14 or something.
All right, buddy.
I'll
calm
literally
down,
double
Lord.
your age.
There are probably things that you remember that I just don't.
Yeah, like the
Because there you
millennium.
go. Like the All right, picks and bads. Yeah, Trundle removed away from Unicorns. There's definitely an adaptation here, a change away. Does this mean that Sejuani then remains high priority then? Is that the idea here? That they try and pick something and force Heretics actually onto the Sejuani pick? The Azir still going to remain the same, however. And I feel like Heretics, unless bans continue to drastically change from Unicorns, can probably still happily remove away these conditions that they feel are very strong for the Dark Region side. Remove away the Civet, right? Consistent wave clear from the bot side. They've been doing it all draft long. Poppy now also joins the ban list, so a lot more focus towards the jungle, which is what we were kind of saying.
Yeah, and now this does open up a lot in that bottom side. This is not just Unicorn saying we need
Floodgates
to
are open.
focus on bluerzor. It's also them saying, Shiganari, you got to step up to Jackspektra. We're going to give you an aggressive AD carry matchup. We're not going to ban the Sivir. We're not going to ban the Draven. We're not going to ban the Kalista. We're not going to ban the Lucian.
Do you know what I would really
so
like?
much open here.
Do you know what I would really like though? I would really like to see the Lucian banned away to force the Kalista and then go towards the Draven. I think that would be really nice for Unicorns, actually, to just leave that one super aggressive hyper AD up. Draven's going to be the ban that they go for, so maybe they're actually trying to do this. They're trying to force the Kalista out. My only problem with this is maybe you kind of just see Heretics ignore this entirely, go still towards the Sivir ban that they've been doing all series long in the opening 3, and Unicorns will probably still, in my mind, lean on the Lucian or the Kalista. It depends on what they prioritize a little bit heavily in this draft, and Heretics will just respond as they have been with the opposite side of that matchup.
See, the Caitlyn also has been banned every single game so far in this series, so I am curious, as the Lucian locked in as the first pick, pressure in the bottom side from Shiganari. Kalista available, Caitlyn available. There's plenty of pressure, and even the Sivir. Sivir has been banned every single game so far this series, but the Sejuani has become something that Lurox has had massive pressure on across the course of this series. And with the Trundle band, with the Poppy band, with the Wukong band, with the Vi band, that becomes a huge priority.
Yeah, so many junglers removed. Sejuani, you know, rises in priority simply because as well on the red side, very strong flex. You can hold that all the way to R5 and then slot her into whatever lane makes more sense. Kalista's going to come through into that one-to-one answer in the aggression to Lucian. Expect the Nami. Now it's more about what Lurox is actually willing to play in my mind with so many junglers down. You could go towards the Viego. You could also go towards something like the Lee Sin perhaps if you're talking about early aggression that can very happily play around this Lucian Nami. What else is there really though? Because beyond that, it feels pretty limited.
There's one pick that Lurox has played this year. Kindred.
Ooh.
He's played Kindred 3 times across the course of this split. Certainly can do well in 2 tanks, and he has a 100% win rate. 12 KDA over those games. It scales well. They've got an Ornn, maybe. Maybe, just maybe, a Kindred could come on through. That would certainly be an exciting way for the Unicorns to come into Game 4 of the series. But now, Heretics consistently hovering over this casting. That is a reference to Ruby playing it earlier on in the tournament. They're going to go with the Kalista Renata. This is a terrifying 2v2.
Yeah, and it's 2v2 that came in at the start of the split, if you remember. Certainly, so many LPL games where Nami Lucian was prioritized 24/7, and then what came in as the eventual response, it was Kalista Renata, and that took over the premier, you know, best bot lane in the meta. All right, they know something we don't. They've just banned away Ramos. I don't think he's played that.
So actually, he has played it once. He has played it once. 100% win rate. All right, fair enough. But it is a singular game. So, you know, whether or not that was going to be picked, I don't know. Volibear's also in that
What
pool.
I will say,
Jungle, Nocturne. These are all the picks he's played one time.
What I will say is that speaks to how deep the jungle pool, or how shallow the jungle pool actually is at this moment in the draft now. If the Heretics are willing to throw a ban at bloody Rammus. And Unicorns, they continue to remove away Ivo's Aatrox. He got it once, and it looked pretty okay. Wasn't, again, the biggest vocal point of the draft, but still had a pretty strong performance on it. And now they will also remove away the Vladimir from Ruby just to ensure that it's not that comfort pick in this position where you can try and capitalize and close out on the series from the side of Heretics.
We're gonna have to see. That Vladimir from Ruby, as you mentioned. And now another ban from the Unicorns. Could be up towards that top side, as they already have their Ornn locked in. Want to make sure that Scarface has a reasonable matchup, but actually taking the Silas off the board.
Yeah, quite like that. Just means that you don't have to deal with the Ornn being stolen away. Now, what will Heretics
this has to be Swain, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's been Swain every time.
It's been Swain every time. My thing is, you kind of see the top lane matchup already, so do you just wait? Or I guess you also have the Sejuani already to flex. So yeah, I think actually I take back Swain just makes no more sense here for Zwyroo. Just go back to what you've been doing so far. No. Okay.
So it's a Sejuani top.
Okay.
So the Aatrox ban completely wasted ultimately here. The Xin Zhao, bit of pressure in that jungle role for bluerzor. And now we have to see where the Unicorns are willing to go for Lurox here. We mentioned the Nocturne has been played once by Lurox this split, but we really are in the fringes of what is meta.
Yeah, we really are. Nocturne, if I recall, recently got a couple of buffs, but I think it was more to do with late Nocturne as opposed to jungle Nocturne. So,
I mean, you're the color, not me.
Hey, you know what? Actually, someone should get video on the line. He's gonna know. He's gonna know.
Yeah, that's
an encyclopedia of Nocturne everything. But it will be the Viktor that rounds out this draft. And I will say, Unicorns, a little bit all over the place with this draft. I think kind of pushed into a corner with so many jungle bans taken away. And now I think realistically Zwyroo can do whatever he wants, right? He played this side of the matchup with the Swain, didn't look so good against the Viktor, so he's going to move over to the Ahri. And honestly, I don't mind this. My only concern is a little bit of pretty high value cleanses potentially to come out from Ruby and Shiganari to sort of deal with potential pick. But aside from that, it just makes a lot of sense. You've got Xin Zhao, Ahri in the mid lane to just win out very early on in the 2v2. Nocturne needs to hit 6 until he really has a lot of pressure. And that's kind of my big concern here for the Unicorn side. They have a lot of agency once level 6 rolls in. But before then, there is so little, and especially the first couple of levels where Lucian and Nami typically will dominate most lanes. They're not going to be able to do that on the bottom side, and they're also going to lose out on the 2v2 in the mid jungle. And they even have a winning top side, so Heretics kind of have it all to me, Munch.
Yeah, they've got control of the early game, is the long and short of it. And we saw what happens in game number 3 when Heretics have control of the early game. We'll see if they can rinse and repeat that scoreline. I will say as well, Zwyroo, you mentioned that Ahri pick, right? He's locked it in again. It's his 10th game of Ahri across the course of this split. He has won 8 out of the 9 so far, and he's got a 6 KDA doing it as well. This is not a pick that Zwyroo is uncomfortable on. This is a pick that Zwyroo has been known to dominate on in that mid lane. And I feel like Zwyroo versus Ruby might end up being the story of this one, because Ruby got kind of camped by bluerzor, kind of destroyed by Zwyroo in game number 3. We'll see if Zwyroo can rinse and repeat that story.
Yeah, and Ruby, when he was running this Viktor in game number 1, it was a little while ago now, was having a pretty good time of it. Of course, it was into a different matchup. We'll see whether or not you can keep that same level of dominance. However, onto the Rift, potentially the final game, if we're to go off of momentum for the series. But Unicorn still, loads of options, mid-game, again, still worried about the early game for Heretics.
Absolutely, and do you know what? We're going into game number 4 here. Heretics with the momentum right now. They're on match point, and they're representing the Superliga here for Spain. They're representing their first seed in their region, and they're representing, as would Unicorns be, the only team moving into semi-finals that aren't an LFL team. A lot of pressure on the shoulders of these players. They're desperate to get this win on the board. Aibo, not been to the semi-finals since 2018, and he would love to make it once again.
He really would. Like you say, the only team that would be from the LFL in semis, the winner of this series. Lurox is going to do something quite clever and just try and start on this Raptors, but you can see Zwyroo trying to play a little bit of interrupt, and bluerzor will also come over here, steal away half the chicken camp. Lurox gets the big one, but again, the big one doesn't quite get him level 2. Still, however, should be fine moving up towards the top side. Heretics just going to split the map, and I think this makes so much sense. Just simply because Jackspektra, whiteinn, feels like they have been getting the better end of the laning phases a lot of the time throughout the series, and if you isolate that, it feels like, realistically, Unicorns aren't going to be able to respond too well, because top side of the map, it's Viktor and it's Ornn. They're not going to be able to play through these lanes.
Yeah, they're not exactly going to be able to put massive pressure on. You can see bluerzor already going to go for a play. Level 1 on Winsome here, just takes half of his HP bar. So the knock-up won't quite come on through, and Shiganari. So the wrong side.
God.
There's a flash forward for the knock-up here. Shiganari going to be forced to flash as well as the handshake doesn't quite connect. But there you go, AD carry flash burn. They'll be more than happy with that.
You know what? Honestly, bluerzor, base gank. He's just like, you know what? I've got a red buff, got half chicken cap.
He stood there, he's hitting the Krugs. He's like, why am I hitting the Krugs?
Why am I hitting Krugs? This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense at all. No, all right. Lurox will, at the very least, respond quite quickly and go towards top side. There was no wards dropped by Heretics to actually catch out this rotation. I just saw a ping rather come out onto the blue buff of Unicorn. So that's actually where the Heretics side feel that Lurox is at the moment. So you will get some jungle camp stolen away. Even picked up the Raptors now, actually eyeing up a top side gank level 3. Very high up in the lane, Aibo.
And Aibo, no flash here, running the TP and Ignite.
He just queued.
Scarface won't be able to find the knockback. Did just use his Q, though. The movement speed is going to be there. Flash forwards, the fear available. And that's a dead Aibo. First blood taken by Lurox.
Yeah, honestly, really nice from Lurox. And just attacks from an angle that it seems like Heretics weren't prepared for. They didn't get a ward to cover the crossover from Lurox. And now bluerzor's going to respond with this stacked wave. Level 2 just hit by Winsome. No flash on Shiganari, remember.
Oh, bluerzor loses almost all of his HP, though. Are they really still going to die? This one, they go in. TP's coming up through. bluerzor gets in. There's a kill, and he somehow gets out with his life. Winsome, low on HP. The spears are there. Jackspektra should get the free rend, but I think it might be on cooldown here. Scarface arrived to clear the wave.
All right. Could have been very chaotic.
It was very chaotic.
It could have been even more chaotic. So really nice from Winsome and Shiganari to just burst out bluerzor and potentially force his way. The big issue is that Jackspektra and whiteinn are both full HP. The handshake connects. Yes, the cleanse is quite nice, but the burst damage can still come through. Definitely eyeing up the potential of a redive here. The only thing is, if you look towards the minimap, it was Ruby that had first move over the side of Zwyroo, so they don't want to overcommit. They take what they can get and they leave.
bluerzor back in the bottom side of the jungle, continuing to try and split the map if he can. This is not a new strategy from Heretics. Abandoning Aibo on the top side on a tank, this is their bread and butter. This is how this team always does it.
Whoa, Aibo on a tank, resources go to Jackspektra. I feel, yeah, very classic Heretics right now in the early stages. We'll see how many times they can continue to redive while Shiganari has no summon spells. bluerzor, almost 5 minutes into the game, hasn't reset yet. Really nice from Unicorns to try and spot this out, and this is just a game of cat and mouse, isn't it? Like
bluerzor trying to play it as slow as he can so he can find his way in. Shiganari and Winsome forced away once again. Look how many minions are dying to the tower right now. Jackspektra gets a solo plate early on the Kalista. Zwyroo's even moved down as well. Is this wave will just get stacked up by the Rens and taken out by Jackspektra. And look how many minions have gone down. This is disaster for Shiganari, but Jackspektra has gone too deep on this one. The exhaust keeps him alive, but here's Lurox, and the bailout isn't going to find a kill. Jackspektra's down. It's going to be trade, though. Lurox flashes away. He survives, and Shiganari finds one as well. whiteinn's too deep. Ruby with a double, and disaster for Heretics.
It's a complete catastrophe. Heretics just overstay their welcome. Lurox shows up from a reset, comes in, cleans up, and there's 2 kills that go over to Ruby. No one stops Ruby from entering that fight either. You would think that maybe Zwyroo would hang a little bit further back, try and control this choke here at the tri-brush. I think Ruby ends up just flashing over to commit on top of this fight. And Jackspektra, I just don't know. He just steps too far forward. Just a simple misplay. Nothing else to really add. And at the back of it, Ruby manages to pick up 2 additional kills. bluerzor has nowhere to go. Just over-eagerness to try and force this play to continue from Heretics.
And the Conqueror from Lurox, so clutch there in the last second to keep him going. Ruby now 2-0-1 on the Viktor on that scaling mid laner. And we talked about the fact that it's all about Heretics trying to maintain pressure, trying to find an advantage in the early game. They've tried too hard to make that happen. And now they're the ones staring down the barrel of 1,500 gold lead down at 6.5 minutes.
Now, they will band-aid this at the very least with this very, very early Ocean Dragon. So I think all things considered, could be a lot worse. Imagine if Unicorns were able to actually pick up the Dragon on the back end of that as well, maybe get a stack going. And another thing I want to really highlight here is actually Jackspektra's XP difference compared to Shiganari is up a full level. Now, there will be a little bit of rubber banding, to say the least, but still, we'll be able to hit level 6 first and maybe continue this momentous amount of pressure.
And look where bluerzor is as well, just going to keep this going on the bottom side. Shiganari does have both summoners up though, so this should be a difficult dive to pull off. You can see that the bottom lane of Heretics low on those summoner spells currently, but just look at the CS difference between these AD carries, right? It's a Noon Quiver against the pickaxe with the 2 swords as well. And you can just expect that Jackspektra probably going to recall on this one. And as you say, the XP difference is really going to be the thing to look at in the bottom lane for the time being.
Yeah, level 6 is going to be hit by Jackspektra in the next sort of wave and a half, maybe. So we'll see whether Fate's cool plays can be made around that timer. Speaking of levels and timers, Lurox is level 6. And as the old saying goes, the first ultimate usage from, what is it, Twisted Fate, Shen, Nocturne. Those are the big 3 globals, shall we say, that often get spoken about as, if they have a first successful ultimate, normally the rest go okay. So we have to see. Normally, you know, it's a good measuring
You
stick.
started this with like, this is the prophecy. You ended up with, if they do well first, it can be okay.
Yeah, it can be okay.
It's not exactly Aesop's Fables, is it?
No. But traditionally, you know, Nocturne, the kind of champion where if he does get that first ult off and it yields pretty big benefits, he can continue to kind of snowball wherever he initially hit the map.
Yeah. If the darkness does succeed,
Yes.
then your jungler will get feed. There you go, there's your Fable. Scarface going to start off the Herald by himself here.
You wouldn't make a great bard.
No?
No.
I can play guitar rather than the lute, so it doesn't really work for a bard.
Hey, me too. We could run like a duo bard or something. I don't know how that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, bard has to be run as a duo, right, as a support, so...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right.
But look, this is actually, I'm pretty sure, the first Herald of this entire series for the Unicorns. It's been Heretics controlling that.
That's true.
The entire series so far.
And right now, they're the ones with the gold lead, and that's the objective that gives gold, right? The only issue is, yeah, what you're seeing on our screens right here. And I will once again highlight right here, Jackspektra, XP, Shiganari XP. It's a bit meaty, and hopefully for Shiganari, he can find some way back in, because he's going to very slowly start to fall behind in gold.
And the thing is as well, this Lucian pick is one of those picks that does need to get an impact going, does need to get into the mid game strong, and that's just not going to happen at this point. That ship has sailed, so it's going to be down to Ruby in the mid lane on this Viktor to be the premier carry for the squad when it comes to, you know, the mid-game fights, when it comes to trying to fight over the Drakes, over the Barons.
Yep, shut down in game number 3, Ruby was. This time it's Shiganari that's being shut down, and Lucian as well, as a pick has been doing so well this series. Now it's the first time we're actually going to properly see it struggle. Ruby will have to step up for his team after being hard-focused. Had a pretty free time in this laning phase. Got those 2 kills. He's up 1,000 gold pretty much on Zwyroo. Let's see what he can do with it. Even gets donated the first blue buff. That's rare for 2022 standards, so let's see what he could do.
Ruby already with that blue buff, going to be able to just clear these waves away very comfortably and start to get some pressure, some priority in that mid lane over Zwyroo. And with the first strike, Shiganari as well, first strike, there's a massive amount of burst damage available to this team. But look at this, Jackspektra going to get his 3rd solo play off the bottom lane. That is terrifying, and now you'll see him go back to base. He's already got his boots, he's already got his Noon Quiver. I'm curious what he'll finish off here. Just going to be a Vamp Scepter coming in the end. It's not that long. Oh, and a cult. It's quite late for a cult, I will say, but hey.
That is one of those bases where, like, so my assumption is he didn't have 600 gold for an agility cloak, and he just said, you know what, I'm free farming anyway.
Like, the odds are he's going to hit 200 CS this game.
200 CS. So
probably won't need the item slot. Like, I'm not super averse to it. It will slow down your second item slightly, or it'll slow down his first item slightly, in fact. But with the lead that he's got, I'm not sure he's too worried about that. It's more about the mid-jungle. And I think we have to kind of revisit something we said just after Champ Select, right? Is that bluerzor and Zwyroo had the mid-jungle 2v2.
Yes.
They had the strength there versus this Nocturne and Viktor combo. But because of the way things went in the bottom side, it ends up being Lurox and Ruby that are the stronger ones.
Yeah, right now they're the ones that picked up the gold, the kills, the XP lead 1-to-1 as well on both sides. Really need to see where Lurox will actually strike with this paranoia, yet to use it. And I think at the moment, it's definitely kind of tough, right? You go to the top side, it's just the Sejuani. The mid lane is obviously Spirit Rush, Ahri, 3 charges. Bottom side, it feels like Jackspektra so damn hard to kill, not only because he's so fed, but he's got the exhaust, he's got flash, he's going to have bailout on top of that. Renata ultimate as well. There are so many things to keep these targets alive, so I think Lurox is just struggling to find setup right now because the lane's frankly just can't provide it for him.
And to be honest, I don't actually mind that he's not being super proactive on the Nocturne, right? Because, you know, you think of Nocturne, you think level 6, you got to go in. But actually, you got a Viktor and an Ornn on your team.
It's not like it's not the end of the world.
When you look at scaling in this lobby, it's very clearly on the side of the unicorns. So if you can play it slow, you play it slow.
And, you know, the old saying is the observers pick the dragons.
Is that a saying?
It is a saying.
I'm not sure. I think we grew up in different places. I've never heard any of these sayings.
We may have. That one comes from Viper. See, they know me at this point.
Well, okay.
Yes.
Cloud Soul analysis time.
Are you gonna make me chill out for the Cloud Soul?
How good is it?
Yeah, Joe, it sucks. This is not a good Cloud Soul game.
I know.
Yeah.
I knew that. The audience knew that. I just wanted to hear you say it out loud.
I know.
It always sucks. That's the beauty of it.
But
okay.
It could be good for, like, kiting backwards with Renata and Kalista. Smile. I'll stop trying now.
Yeah. Ahri will move quite quickly. Thumbs up. Okay, bluerzor going to be clearing from his top side here. And I feel like we're in for a bit of a slow one here because the snag that we're hitting for the side of Heretics is that they've drafted this composition where they want to be really aggressive in the early game and snowball from there. But they've gone a little bit too aggressive in the early game. It's a classic blunder. It's like never go against a Sicilian when death is on the line. You know, it's that kind of blunder.
I'm too young for that reference.
Okay. Well, someone in chat definitely got that reference. I promise you that. It's the voice actor of Rex off of Toy Story that drops that reference. And I'll give no more explanation. Here we go, culling at the bottom side. Jackspektra going to tank it up. His whiteinn saved by the face call.
All right. Not too bad for the unicorn side, considering how the lane's been going. But because of things like Jackspektra, you know, having to opt into those tier 2 boots because he's playing Kalista, and just in general, I guess, the Cole purchase, he's actually down an item on Shiganari right now. Shiganari has the Gale Force!
Oh, the exhaust comes through! Oh, the tidal wave! It's a tsunami for Winsome!
Despite being put so far behind, question mark, or Jackspektra getting all of these plates, you feel like it's actually the Heretics bottom lane that have the advantage, but you just have to look at the inventories. It's the Gale Force that's there, it's the Mandate that's already in pocket for the Nami, and so much damage comes out. I mean, sure, Jackspektra is what, 65, 70% HP, but it doesn't really matter. Even through the exhaust, just gets one shot tidal wave. Turns out Kalista's not the best swimmer in the world.
Just washed away in the bottom lane, and look at that, the gold dead even between our AD carries now. Shiganari finding himself some space in the bottom side, and an 800 gold lead for Winsome over whiteinn. It's not often that you talk about support gold leads, but here we are, the mandate finished and making it work immediately. The Unicorns want their second Herald of the game, but Ibo here to contest as Zwyroo moves in as well. Lurox would really like to finish this one, but it ain't gonna happen. It's taken by Zwyroo in the end.
All right, Heretics get that one slipped away, and like you say, Zwyroo even going to pick it up. So he's going to be the one with that Herald in his back pocket. Still down several thousand gold. Unicorns, again, we've spoken about the scaling. Dare I say, they may actually just kind of give up the next dragon because it's Cloud. And
I thought you liked Cloud. I thought you were meant to be the Herald of the Cloud.
I am, I promise. But what I will say about Cloud is because of its contextual strength, when you...
Where do we go with this?
Don't giggle. It does mean that compared to other souls, you can actually kind of happily give it up, let Elder spawn in, and then if you're stronger by that point,
yeah,
you just win the game because Elder's broken. So we'll see what Unicorns want to do. They have the items, in my opinion, to fight, yes, but do you want to flip it right now, even though you've got a 3k gold lead? You can kind of let it go. I guess mid lane priority is also going to be a very big deal in terms of who gets to the river first.
And it's worth mentioning as well that, you know, Zwyroo has this Herald to find that priority that you're talking about, but also, if you do lose a fight here as Unicorns, do you really want to give a lead back over to the Heretics? Charm goes wide, and now in goes Lurox, first ult of the game, and it's going to be a Call of the Forge God on top of it. Bailout won't find the reset, so it's 1-for-1 so far. Scarface trying to escape. Ruby protected by his top laner, A great bubble, though, to stop whiteinn escaping. Scarface trying to get to the wall, flashes out to safety. Ruby getting stacked up on, but here comes Shiganari. Everything available. The culling blocked by the minion wave, though. They can't finish anyone off.
Yeah, and I mean, 10 seconds until this dragon spawns up. There's one jungler available, and it's to Heretics' side, but it's the unicorns that have access to the river right now. So let's see how this next couple of seconds play out, because Heretics could just slip into the river after the fact. Try and pick this one up. Lurox is respawned. Teleport's coming in. They from Ruby. So they're going to try and just control this choke. I mean, Shiganari.
Oh, Shiganari wants it here. Goes in 1v3, but whiteinn can keep his AD carry alive. Zwyroo over the wall here. Doesn't have his ultimate available, but he does have an Everfrost Ibos here as well. And suddenly Ruby's alone on the play. It's Jackspektra forced out the top side of the fight here. Blue buff taken down. Jackspektra survives. And now Ibo onto Shiganari. Both AD carries down. Lurox on the backline. whiteinn turns gold to keep himself alive. Ruby trying to survive as the double kill comes through. Zwyroo, though, on the front line, trying to get into the middle of everything. The knock-up is huge. Lurox under the tower now. Zwyroo surviving. whiteinn trying to protect his team. Heretics forced out.
They are forced out. Unicorns, such an amazing team fight, just pushing the Heretics back further and further. And Ruby, the person we said had to step up, is stepping up in these fights massively. And Unicorns, we pondered the question, will they give up the Cloud Dragon? The answer is no, it's the best damn dragon in the game, so they're going to fight for it.
Absolutely. And Ruby take about 5-0 on 1 on this Viktor. Who says Viktor is a late game scaling champion? Not Ruby, as he takes over this early game. Already was on the 2 items. He'll probably finish a 3rd on this base.
He is going to be absolutely massive. Let's take a look at this though, because the teleport comes in and you're thinking Unicorns, sure, they can just keep them at arm's length in the choke, but Shiganari has other ideas. He's forcing them back all the way. This knockup from whiteinn is nice, but there's no real follow-up because Zwyroo's teleport hasn't followed through yet. And you can see on the bottom side, Ivo also hadn't arrived. So the engages are kind of a little bit too muddled up. Nothing actually sticks for the side of Heretics, and then Shiganari again just dashing forward. He only knows forward. He only knows forward, and so does Ruby apparently. Flashes forward, picks up the Kalista, and as the fight ensues, Ruby's just unkillable in the middle of everybody.
Yeah, he's got a crown and he's happy to use it. I love that Ruby just walks forward, just one taps Jackspektra as well to finish that kill off. What a play from Ruby. Shiganari willing to be aggressive, and once again the culling comes on through. Herald charge, the first tower already went down. It will be half of this second tower. Not enough to finish as Ruby arrives. Here comes the team once again. Lurox into the middle of 3 of them, has to retreat once more. Tidal wave to try and stop Ibo getting into the play. It's a 3,000 gold lead for the Unicorns, and everything is kicked off, Jabana.
It's just fist fight after fist fight, man. Lurox constantly going for Zwyroo here, so close, slipping away. Yet again, the Ahri does. Now they're actually looking onto Scarface. That almost goes wide, but the stun won't.
Yeah, that's going to be, a 4-person knock-up here. whiteinn escapes with his life, forced to flash, but hey, in a 4v1, you'll take the flashy play at least.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know Heretics yet. They will be able to get this tower at the very least. That Demolish proc, everybody else showing up. They'll take that tier 2, a lot of gold to kind of give to 3 members here.
This feels like it's fairly consistent that the Heretics are managing to find these positive traits across the map here as Zwyroo will be able to... Oh, that's charmed underneath the tower. Ruby, he took, what was that, 4 tower shots in a row there, so a lot less pressure than there was on this top side.
Yeah, they'll have to back away. Lurox's almost coming back up, but the unfortunate scenario is that so is Zwyroo's literally 3 seconds later, so there will be no play to be had here, and it looks like a reset will just come through. Mid lane, tower was taken by Shiganari, so a lot of gold being thrown back and forth, and right now, I guess the important thing to know is that Shiganari is actually at IM parry with Jackspektra. Sure, he doesn't have the tier 2 boots, but he's got the 2 IM completions, and that's all he really needs. Yeah. When you kind of look at the Unicorn side as well, the items are more or less ahead or even in every role except for Scarface right now, who can just build his Frozen Heart on the Rift anyway.
Yeah, it's not like Ornn is one of those champions that's super item reliant.
No.
He's going to be chilling. He's going to be okay, regardless of if he falls a little bit behind in terms of items. Ruby trying to grab his blue buff here, but that will not be allowed. Ibo dives into the play, and Lurox using that paranoia just to try and dissuade the engage from Heretics. Blue buff probably going to reset again here, but actually no, taken by bluerzor. Here we go with the Forge God as Zwyroo trying to escape. Good Spirit Rush at the last second to dodge the knockup, but the Unicorns aren't done just yet. Jackspektra's on the front line right now. He will be taken down. Another tsunami comes on through, and Winsome taking names right now. Supportal combat as he gets his third kill.
Does he have a Medjay? Something what's going on? He's just writing them down one after the other. And now they can go towards the Baron here. bluerzor, he's on the upside wall, he's got flash, he's Xin Zhao, he doesn't even really need it to get inside the pit. Is this a flip that Unicorns are really willing to take right now when they are down series point? It looks like the answer is yes. This Baron is being burned down slowly but surely. It's at 7k.
Don't have much sustain though, and I feel like they are slowly but surely just being poked down by the Baron. They have to back away. And like you say, bluerzor's there, has his smite available. This is not something you want a 50-50 when you are on the cusp of being knocked out of EU Masters.
Exactly, and Jackspektra gets clipped by that first ultimate. Shiganari's cleanse comes out late, and I'm thinking at this point maybe Unicorns can just disengage, walk away, maybe get something in the mid lane. But yeah, you said Jackspektra, he's on the front line. He was also at the front at the front of the line to die, apparently, in Winsome's eyes as he picks up a double kill. They go towards the Baron, but again, stripped to whip.
Okay. Lurox has got a kill. I have no idea what the context is there, but hey, we take those. Lurox finds himself a bonus.
Nocturne's broken, I guess? Like, how does that happen?
Oh, Ibo stops the recall. I don't think Lurox can win this one, and I don't think he can get back to the tower in time.
That's a meaty fear.
Okay.
Right. Ultimate. Dodge it, Lurox.
He's actually just going to walk away from this one. Flash is out to safety.
Oh, Baron though? Question mark? No, doesn't look like it's going to be doable. Yeah, let's get a look at this. The Zwyroo just not quite have flat. Yeah, no ultimate. He's clearing. Yeah, it's just this is a bit of greed from Zwyroo. Unfortunately, I think he probably was relatively close to an Ion. Otherwise, you wouldn't see him stick in the side lane like that. Okay, I take it back. Baron is on the table.
Yeah, Heretics starting this one off. They're looking for the fight. There's Scarface, the target is. The hostile takeover goes pretty wide on this one. Oh, whiteinn almost gets one shot by Shiganari. Yes, he does get one shot by Shiganari. Flash forward from Ruby to dodge away from the Everfrost. Call of the Forge God is in. As in comes Lurox as well. A double through for Shiganari. And the Unicorns want a full series here. Shiganari forced back again, but it will not matter. Triple kill for Shiganari. And now onto the Baron once more.
The bells are tolling. Silver scrapes, Joe. I can hear it. Unicorns, they're going to pick up the Baron here, almost certainly. Mid lane, tower will be picked up. Oh, actually, Ruby, he's going to get picked up himself. Baron should still go the way of the Unicorns. The question is, what's going to happen with the Dragon in 15 seconds time is when bluerzor respawns. There's the Baron. Takes a little while. Then they can let it go, come back out to the map and siege with this Baron buff.
But I don't think they'll be able to get themselves this Drake, right? Zwyroo should be able to start this one off. He's got a Kalista on the way as well. With Ruby not on the map, this is a 4v5 in favor of Heretics. Surely this should be their Drake, and that will be soul point as well.
Be the soul point. Is okay. All right. You were waiting. But hey, look, I'm just upset that we've got Cloud Souls, but then the Cloud Souls haven't been good Cloud Soul games.
And we've not really seen any Souls.
And we've not actually seen any Souls this series, yeah.
I think we saw one in the first game, maybe.
I don't think we got to that point, but yeah, you can see whiteinn, Shiganari, Lucian, one shot, broken champion in this series apparently. And then this engage here, just followed up so nicely. Jackspektra just can't do anything. He's got a Chaos Storm on top of him, he's got a Forge God on top of him, and unfortunately he's also got a Nightmare on top of him. And he drops, and Shiganari finds himself a triple kill. No one else around to slay for a penta. Try and match Jackspektra's game 3, but he is certainly looking to get as aggressive as he can right now. 3 items, upgraded Gale Force Typhoon, he is ready to fight.
Yes, he absolutely is. Shiganari, I'm loving the aggression we're seeing on this Lucian from both Jackspektra and Shiganari, both of them showing that they know how to be aggressive, know how to push that advantage. They won't be able to go for the tower here. whiteinn trying to find the engage, but just ever so slightly short on it. As Scarface TP's into the play, Ibo will prowl away on his Poro. It's sort of bouncing. As in the meantime, Lurox just pushes a tower in the top side for himself.
Lurox side lane, I quite like this, right? He's the champion with the global, just give the minions the Baron buff, take the tower, set up pressure for Unicorns to siege in the mid lane. And they'll get that tier 2 there as well, and they can push on towards the inhibitor with the Baron buff. Still got plenty of time to use this with.
Ooh.
And now,
oh my days! That was just a double shot. That was insane. Zwyroo almost get one shot on the play. Shiganari now moving on to bluerzor, but does have that Crescent Guard to keep himself safe, but that's an ultimate burn. The Unicorns will be very happy with the results of this play. whiteinn the next target, another double shot and another half HP bar gone. Zwyroo, big Everfrost in the team. Hostile takeover as well. with some shields across the squad
side though.
They just can't commit. They just can't go in on the play. And now the Forge got across everybody. Scarface making it happen. Jackspektra forced into the bailout, but he will fall. And I think that might just be game once again. The Unicorns turning things around. They lose in 22 minutes, and then they find a win in 27. This series is going the distance, and the Unicorns will not be shut out just yet.
No, they will not. And this game, the first 10 minutes, 15 maybe even, so back and forth. I'm sorry, I got taken away in the moment. I can hear the silver scrapes. It's my first time here. I can't not get carried away from time to time.
I can't blame you.
It's coming. The silver scrapes. I mean, yeah, the early game, right? For Heretics, the plan was very clearly just deny the bottom lane, deny the Lucian Nami with this Kalista pick. We saw, I think it was Fnatic do the same thing. Was it against Rogue? My brain is telling me one of the games in the playoffs where they just effectively sat in between tier 1 and tier 2 of Kalista and said, "Fight us, bro." see what happens. And they just took that play too far. And just from simply the back of that play, it's just Shiganari and whiteinn having the IM advantage somehow, despite lacking the gold, and then taking over from the bottom side. And of course, Ruby was the one that finally stepped up in this series.
Yeah. I mean, Heretics were there and they said, "Fight us, bro." And then the Unicorn said, "Okay, yeah, we'll fight you," and managed to win that. Can you hear it, Jamada? That's silver scrapes in our ears. The Unicorns of Love are back, and it's all coming down to one last game between these two teams. We're going to be right back. Do not go anywhere. It's game 5, baby.
Unicorns of Love started kind of as a group of friends, just trying to get as good as possible in League of Legends. For the last 5 splits, I've been working in the LCL and made Worlds 3 times in a row. And then I joined our German Prime League team on summer. So yeah, the journey has been quite long, and everything started with Unicorns of Love just being friends and somehow making it to the highest level of competition. I think there are too many brands that are just calling themselves like serious gaming, ultra gaming, mega gaming, you know, professional e-gaming. We always just had fun. So when we started, we wanted to have a name that if you lose to it, you know, it's like, oh, we lost against Unicorns of Love, and then you know, kind of have this kind of, oh my god. Because in the end, it doesn't matter how you're called or like where you're coming from or like what you're doing. In the end, the only thing that's important is that you're better at League of Legends. About this game, I don't want that. I don't want random fights. I don't want random Ramos ultimate on like Xin Zhao shit. I want win conditions.
I think it was probably one of my best seasons, maybe my best. I have to give credits to Sheepy. I think he coached me really well. I think he really showed me what I need to improve on and what my mistakes are. He brings everyone together and we play one style of League of Legends. It's not like we play 5 individual players and we try to like somehow like make it work.
I think Sheepy's role overall is like really important for the team because he just gives like guidance and like sets goals always, and we have like a clear structure and how we want to play, how we want to practice, and so on.
My personal focus in coaching is not so much on gaining achievements or winning something specific. It's more about playing good League of Legends, because everything else leads towards satisfaction anyway. Like either you play good League of Legends, you get beaten by an extremely strong team and you can learn something, and eventually speaking you get better and be one of the best teams. So even if we go into the finals or semi-finals, the focus was always about how well can we perform and how well are we prepared. My initial step into the German Prime League team was kind of wild, even though we started out 1-3, which I can attribute to not having so much time to prepare. We had 2 days of scrims before the actual split started.
So the first 2 weeks were quite rough because we were just losing every game in scrims and also losing on stage.
At the start, we kind of had to find ourselves like in the team, and I think Sheepy kind of brought us together. And after like the first couple of weeks, I realized we can be really good and maybe even win the Prime League and do well in EU Masters.
Well, once we won the semi-finals, we knew that we were going to an offline event in the Berlin arena. Everybody was very, very excited. I mean, the offline events is one of the parts what you're living for as an esports pro, and we had so many fans there as well, so it was just amazing going there.
1 or 2 weeks leading up to the final, we were like always playing with white noise and like crowd noises in like our background, and Ruby was always like, "Ah, it's so loud," and I'm like, "It's gonna be way louder on stage."
Yeah, I heard before crowd can be noisy. But it was really nice to hear the crowd screaming or shouting or clapping.
We had some people that didn't play the offline event, and I know they will have nerves going on stage, so I wanted to minimize that as much as possible. And it really showed. I think we had 0 nerves, and we just roll over Schalke 4.
Kind of just finished the regular split with 15 wins in a row, which is a new Prime League record, which is nice.
There was like, after we killed the Nexus, there was like 2 seconds, I looked over, and it kind of felt like silence. I was like, oh, we won? And then Lurox jumped up, shouted, yeah! And then I realized, oh yeah, it's time.
And the Unicorns are finding everything.
For the EU Masters, we have the best chance of all the Prime League teams, so it kind of feels like the whole of the DACH region is like coming together and supporting us, and it feels really awesome.
I think people should be excited for Unicorns of Love because we are one of the best teams, if not the best team in Europe. And we also are extremely friendly and nice guys. In the end, it's a video game and life is short, so you should enjoy it. And I think we're basically living that every day.